Well, if you're wondering why farmers are so concerned about their farm finances right now, they really just can't catch a break. It's not just because corn prices are below break even for most. It's the fact input prices are so high.
The U.S. has lost the corn crown. We've been the world's top exporter of corn for just about every single year in history.
China halted orders for U.S. soybeans and corn before tariff escalation. A crushing blow. USDA cancels local food purchasing programs that serve schools, tribes, seniors, and food banks, while supposedly supporting ranchers and farmers. Corn prices have plummeted to $3.50 a bushel, triggering panic across the U.S. Corn Belt. From Iowa to Indiana, combines now sit idle because harvesting would only deepen losses. Over 2 million tons of corn were rejected by importers and sent back to New Orleans, turning million-dollar contracts into worthless paper overnight. Fields are filled with cracked kernels soaking in the rain, a grim symbol of a broken system. And much of this disaster stems from the Trump-era trade war with China, which blew up years of agricultural diplomacy in a matter of months. Instead of strengthening our position, Trump's tariffs pushed key buyers into the arms of competitors permanently. While farmers face rising debt and collapsing confidence, Canada has stepped in quietly and methodically. They've now secured a multi-billion-dollar corn supply pact with Japan, South Korea, and the EU, markets we used to dominate. But when Trump pulled the U.S. out of trade agreements and spent 4 years waging war on multilateralism, what did we expect? His policies didn't just isolate us. They handed global market share to other countries on a silver platter. China didn't have to fight to win. We just left the door open and let our closest trading partners walk away. So why has U.S. corn collapsed so fast since early 2025? While Ottawa calmly seals deals that pour millions into Canadian pockets, today's video will peel back every fracture in America's corn wings and decode how Canada ascended to the grain throne. Hit subscribe to Civic Chatterbox and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest political, economic updates. It started with tariffs that backfired spectacularly. Trump imposed fees of up to $1.5 million per trip on Chinese-built cargo vessels, not realizing or not caring that most of our grain exports rely on them. Shipping costs through the Gulf of Mexico jumped 25%, slamming the entire logistics chain with $930 million in extra annual costs. Trump called it America First. The rest of the world called it easier to buy somewhere else. As if that weren't enough, the Federal Grain Inspection Service issued Directive 9180.40, raising pesticide residue test fees by 40% in a single crop cycle. Now, every U.S. corn lot has to pass an expensive export test just to avoid being turned away mid-ocean. That's the cost of a regulatory system made chaotic by years of Trump's anti-science and anti-global cooperation agenda. Meanwhile, barge traffic on the Mississippi is down 16% and New Orleans docks are choking with backups. More than 180 grain ships are stuck waiting, while Iowa and Indiana corn spoils under the sun and rain. Every extra day costs farmers 27 cents per bushel, just to wait. It's like watching rural America get charged interest on Trump's ego trip. While U.S. grain can't move, global buyers have shifted expectations. They want clean, green, blockchain-traced products. In 2025, Mexico banned GMO corn. Europe and Asia followed with new sustainability clauses. The U.S., with 92% GMO acreage and a history of fighting climate rules, was promptly scratched off the preferred supplier list. Enter Canada. With its Prairie Trace blockchain, non-GMO corn, and carbon-free certification, Canada locked in contracts with Japan, South Korea, and the Europe. Contracts we lost because of years of Trump-era resistance to climate accountability and digital traceability. The result? spot corn in the U.S. plunged to $3.45 a bushel, the lowest since 2016. Meanwhile, Manitoba corn held strong at $4.20 thanks to its low carbon premium. It's simple. U.S. cargoes cost more, take longer to clear, and fail to meet evolving global standards. Under Trump, we not only fell behind, we actively sprinted in the wrong direction. The global corn map is being redrawn. And America, once the center, is now the cautionary tale. Imagine the whole county of Shelby, Iowa, drowning in corn, and no one wants to buy it. That's not a metaphor. It's reality. Unsold corn stocks have hit a 6-year high, with over 2.5 billion bushels trapped in silos, baking in sun and rain. In Cedar Rapids, the cash bid is just $3.74 per bushel for September delivery. Meanwhile, average 2025 harvest costs in Iowa have ballooned to $165.75 per acre. That brutal gap, profit margins turned negative. Is the fallout from a system broken by years of misguided protectionism and self-sabotage, most of it under Trump? He marketed himself as the savior of the rural heartland, but his trade policies crushed the very people who voted for him. Now Midwest farmers are selling their John Deere 660 combines on Craigslist, or worse, driving Uber at night just to cover operating costs. In Indiana, the economy beneath the Corn Belt shrunk by 6.1% in Q1 2025, the second steepest drop nationwide. Food aid applications are surging, and the Food Bank of Indiana warns the number of households pleading for help has jumped by 50% since last year. And still, thanks to Trump-era deregulation and budget slashing, a snap-cut proposal now threatens 133 million meals across rural America. The same communities that once cheered "Drain the Swamp" are now struggling to keep their pantries full. In Nebraska and Minnesota, irrigation is now rationed. The local diner in Hastings shuts its grill before 6 p.m., not from policy, but because no one's left to buy a burger. Welcome to Trump's rural economy. Stores still standing, but cash flow dead. And then, the final blow, ethanol. Production is tanking. In Columbus, Nebraska, Valero shut down 60% of night shifts, sidelining 120 workers. 25 plants have closed, idling over 1.2 billion gallons of capacity. Meanwhile, Canada is doing everything Trump refused to. Adopting blockchain for traceability, meeting non-GMO and low-carbon standards, building transparency with Europe-style disclosures, signing smart trade deals, not tearing them up on Twitter. The result? Canadian corn commands premiums of 22% to 30% above U.S. grain. In June 2025, the Ontario Grain Board recorded new crop corn fetching $1.49 more per bushel than Chicago. Why? Because global buyers aren't just buying corn. They're buying a green reputation. And Trump made sure the U.S. doesn't have one. The Canada-South Korea Organic Equivalency Agreement, CSKOEA, opened the door to a 5-year supply deal within weeks. Saskatchewan leveraged Trump's trade fallout to move non-GMO corn to Japan and the Netherlands, nations that now avoid U.S. grain like it's toxic waste. Corn was only the beginning. If Washington stays frozen, stuck in Trump's failed policies and isolationist echo chamber, the dominoes will fall across soybeans, beef, and dairy. Europe has already removed U.S. soy from its low-carbon white list. Feed costs will rise. Carbon taxes will slam us-raised beef. Another 1980s-style bankruptcy wave is already forming, and the same rural voters Trump promised to make great again will pay the price. The clock is ticking. Will Washington realign the tracks in time, or let the rural train derail even further? Comment below, because the next decision will affect not only the price of corn in your soup bowl, but the paycheck of millions of American families. And this is only the first bell. if you care about the latest political economic stories. Don't forget to subscribe to Civic Chatterbox and ring the notification bell so you never miss a beat.